Hello there, guys. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. How is it going? I am Christy. That is Alonso. That is Matt. Next up for us on reviews, get out of my dreams, get into my car with Titane. So many of you guys requested this, like, holy shit, you've got to see this and talk to us about it. So we did, and we're so glad we did. And Alonso will describe, he's going to try to describe this. I don't know how you're going to do it, but good luck.
Yeah, I'm going to give my best shot. And we're also going to give it our best shot to not spoil anything.
Yeah.
So as well as best we can. All right. So this is the second film from Julia Ducournau. Her first film, Raw, got a lot of attention worldwide and sort of people were immediately praising her as sort of a modern master of horror and unease. And she's definitely still on that train for Titane, which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes this year. So a newcomer, Agathe Roussel, who is fucking amazing in this movie, plays a woman who as a child got into a car accident with her negligent father, had a massive head trauma, and they had to put a plate of titanium in her head, or as the French would say, Titane. That all happens before the credits. She, as an adult, has a cool scorpion-shaped scar on the side of her head. She dances at car shows, and she gets up close and personal with the cars, let's say, and also has something of a homicidal streak, but then decides that the best way to hide is to assume the identity of a long missing runaway boy who is claimed by his very relieved father, a fire chief played by Vincent Lindon. And this movie sort of starts out reminding you of Crash, but then it kind of veers into like Vertigo and Olivier and a lot of other directions, but it is very much its own thing. Certainly the term body horror applies here, but that's just skimming the surface of what's going on in this movie. This is a film that's ultimately about familial relationships and either mending or creating those connections, and the search for them and how the absence of them can warp people's lives. And this is riveting from start to finish. And this is a visionary work from someone who is who understands the rules of narrative, but is also rewriting them at the same time.
If you liked Crash, the David Cronenberg Crash,
yes,
I didn't think it was fucked up enough. This movie is for you. Yeah, it's amazing to me the twist this takes. And Alonso, you did a fantastic job of not spoiling how much there is to discover here. But the way it shifts tone, the way the twist its narrative takes, but like it never feels jarring. It always feels of a piece. It's seamless in the places that it goes. And whereas it begins in a way that is shocking, it ends up being so heartbreakingly sweet. It's so tender. And how they get there. What's that?
But still shocking. But still shocking, yes.
It doesn't get soft. It doesn't soften there. But there is a longing and a vulnerability and a sweetness at its core that you never would have expected at the outset, or would have expected for the really shockingly violent stuff that happens in like the first third. Some really fantastic camera work on display here.
Yes.
There's one long tracking shot bringing us into the first big car show where we see what Alexia does. You say she's a dancer at a car show. It's a very diplomatic way of describing what it is she's doing at that car show. There's always the scantily clad lovelies who are like, hanging out next to the car. She's doing more than that.
The Fast and Furious thing.
They call that hood hotties.
Is that what those are called? There's a term.
It's the car show version of booth babes.
Yeah. So, I was done. I can't believe this is Agathe
Roussel.
I can't believe this is her first performance. There's so much required of her physically, emotionally, in terms of the energy she has to bring. I mean, there's a cutting your hair in the bathroom scene, which we've seen a million times, but it's totally different here because there's different reasoning for it and different energy behind it. And it's bizarre. Just see it.
Richard Kindle from The Fugitive could take some very good notes from Alexia in this at the things that she's willing to do to change her appearance.
The pliability of the body is very much a theme here.
Well, so Mariah Gates, who does a column for us at Movie Phone, interviewed Ducournau, and some of the stuff she talked about, like on the one hand, you can look at this movie as one of the most compelling visions of what a pregnancy can do to a body, from the point of view of like, holy shit, what is this doing to me? Right. And there's some amazing stuff. Ducournau wrote the character Vincent with Vincent Lindon in mind. He's the fire captain. He is amazing in this. And he, you know, this movie starts off, one of the things I really love that this movie does is she takes a bit of a page out of something Hitchcock does in Psycho, but she goes so much farther with it in that in Psycho, there's the scene where Bates has killed somebody and put him in the back of the car, and he starts pushing the car
in the swamp,
into the swamp. And then the car stops. And for a moment, you're like, oh no, poor Norman. Right. And like, now you're worried about Norman.
And then you're like, wait, who am I rooting for here?
No, this is great. He should get caught. So in Titane, you start, this movie is got, without ever letting you forget how fucked up Alexia is, you start to empathize with her. And I think it's, among other things, a measure of Ducournau's ability that it does feel seamless. And, you know, I really bought the relationship between Vincent, you know, the fire captain, and Alexia, or Adrian, you know, and then when the mother shows up, and like, yeah, this movie it's a wild ride. It is not for the squeamish. No. I would love to see this crossover with the Fast and Furious franchise.
Also, we should mention that Garen Smillier, who stars in Raw, is also in this very memorably early on in a scene that made me absolutely flinch and squirm.
Yes.
Chris is like, what are you watching? Like, I can't tell you. But she also plays a woman named Justine in this film as well, as she did in Raw. So is this a sequel? Is it the Julia Ducournau cinematic universe?
Exactly. God. Yeah. It's funny. Dave and I always tell the story about how when we first started going out, we went to go see Crash, the Cronenberg one, in the theaters in Dallas twice. And both times, like, it just became this thing of counting how many people walked out. And we were watching this, and we're like, oh, people would be walking out of this movie, because you either get on its wavelength, or you're like, what am I even looking at? I can't deal with this.
But it's so beautiful.
It's
like mesmerizing.
Absolutely.
I mean, given what you're watching, it's often shocking. And like, I look through splayed fingers for so much of this. But it's a beautiful film. So I think from that perspective alone, just it would be hard not to get drawn into it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of craft here. And I think there is a lot of, once you get past the unusual plot mechanics, there really are characters that you do care about, and that you come to understand, even if not all of their choices are necessarily defensible. And yeah, it really does kind of become about this relationship in particular, but also in general, like I said, about these sort of this desire for a kind of family bonds. And
I wonder too, I feel like she's exploring gender roles here.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of the journey that Alexia takes, but also there's a scene in the firehouse, a couple different scenes in the firehouse where like all the guys are dancing.
Right.
And at one point,
the Beau Travail moment.
Yeah. At one point, like it's like a R&B, kind of like a groove, and it's like intimate and romantic. And then at one point it's like just shirtless mosh pit, like getting your energy out. And then that scene shifts too in a way that makes everybody question what they're doing there. And so I think she's definitely exploring like the nature of identity.
Sure. And choices in this are astounding.
Yeah.
They're so good.
And the fire chief, it should be noted, is also undergoing his own attempts at physical transformation. So it's not just Alexia this is happening to.
Right.
So you're right. It is male and female and a lot of other things thrown in there. And there is this notion of a kind of constant, if not evolution, certainly flux.
And also the idea that like traditional notions of masculinity may not work because what he's doing to himself to try to maintain, a muscular physique and his idea of what a man should look like ultimately is unfulfilling to him. Anyway, there's a lot going on.
And then Clint Eastwood comes out and tells him that the whole macho thing is overrated. It's very powerful.
He squints into the middle distance. All right. So I'm saying 8.8.
I said 8.5.
Okay. I said 8. Okay. Yeah.
8.4 is our number. Where is Titane playing?
Currently only in theaters, but Neon is not taking it city by city the way they're going to with the new Vera Sethekun. But yeah, I imagine it will be streaming within a month or two. But at the moment, it is exclusively in theaters.
Cool. So check it out at some point, please, and let us know what you guys thought.
Absolutely. This is definitely bound to be one of the most talked about films this year for sure. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. So much happening over there. For one thing, if you want to watch these videos without all that commercial interruption, we have them uncut and unfettered over at Patreon. Also, it's where we do our TV recaps. We have so much to say about the Ted Lasso season finale, also keeping up with the morning show, and we're taking votes from our subscribers about which horror film we're going to review this month on our monthly Off the Menu segment. Currently leading the pack is Julia Ducournau's Raw, but anything can happen. So get over there and vote if you haven't already. And if you can't vote because you're not a member, become a member. Patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.